And welcome everyone to Nerd TV for an RSR Next Generation Cup Series race here at the virtual Charlotte Roval, where these best one tire RSR Next Gen guys are going to take 45 laps around this 2.28 mile, very uniquely shaped road course here. And it's a little shorter of a race. That means the intensity should be up a little bit higher and should bring a lot of action on the screen that you're watching from. On the track, 101 degrees on the surface, 78 in the skies, 56% humidity, partly cloudy, no wind. That means that's not going to be a factor here this evening. My name, Jeremy Stanley, aka Jay Swifty, and to my right hand side, Jason Rockefeller on this Tuesday evening. How's it going?
Doing good, man. Ready for some Roval action yet again. Obviously, last night we called another Roval race, and it was pretty damn exciting, I must say. And you wouldn't really expect that out of a road course. I know that a lot of people, like us included, Jeremy. We kind of dread going to these road courses from a broadcaster's perspective. It can be exciting, but it gets long strung out. Most leagues or series do not run full length cautions and whatnot. We saw one stage caution. I believe it's going to be the same thing here tonight. I'm not sure how the RSR boys are going to do it. But with that being said, last night we had a fantastic race, strategy all over the board, a hell of a lot of drama. I'm definitely expecting the same thing tonight. And for once, I could say I am very excited to call a road course.
Yeah, 100%. We had 25 entries last night, 26 tonight, so a very, very similar lineup here of drivers when it comes to the car count, just 15 laps shorter. Things got really spaced out yesterday, but that's typical for a road course, especially how technical this is. We talked a lot about the technicality of this track, so I don't want to, recap all of that nonsense, but 17 corners, very tricky corners overall, and don't be surprised if you see some spaced out here tonight, though it's a fixed setup tonight, not the open setup we saw last night with the FTSR boys. So things might be just a little more closer here this evening.
Yeah, it definitely could be a little bit closer. The fact that this race is going to be 15 laps shorter than last night's race. And remember, last night they made a last minute change within the last handful of hours before we took the green flag. They said, all right, hey, we're going to run some extra laps. Turns out we were going to run 60 laps. And we were like, all right, 60 laps, that's not that big of a deal. And it ended up turning out to be a big deal because with that being said, Jose Acosta could have been the winner last night, but because of those 10 to 5 extra laps that we ran, he lost the race because of that, and he gave the win to the 15 of Nicholas Moreau. That could obviously be a factor here tonight. The fact that it's only going to be 45 laps, you're probably only going to have to pit once. These guys get 2 extra sets of tires if needed. Remember, they have the one that's going to be on the car, then the 2 behind the wall. So they're going to be down 1 come stage caution. But obviously, we saw track position be really key last night in the Mach 1 Performance Cup Series race. But the one thing that's going to be a factor when it comes to the tires is if you are a road course guy, you can utilize those tires to your advantage. If you're not a road course guy, it's going to be hard to defend the guys on fresher tires if you're defending on a road course guy or trying to make your way up through the field on new tires if you're not a road course guy.
Yeah, I mean, to touch on that first part with the fuel situation, yeah, that's huge, right? 15 laps shorter. Jose Acosta could have made it if the race was 5 laps shorter. So that tells me when they come down to pit road to service their car during the stage break, they don't have to pit on fuel. I think they run the same percentage of fuel in the fuel tank. So I think they're going to be safe to go on that. Tire wear was not a concern. We saw, what was it, Nick and Jose run their fastest laps on lap 47 out of 60 when they didn't change a single tire on that car all night long. So that's something to look out for. And yeah, the cars, moving to the back, if they try to shortcut the stage to get in the front, we saw that yesterday as well. We saw the top 5 hit 2 laps early. They stayed out for a stage 2 start, and then lap 1, turn 1 of stage 2, you saw 5-car pile up there in the heartburn turn. So something to look out for this evening as well when they get to the second stage.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, we talked about as well last night. It's going to be the same thing tonight. This is a very, very technical road course. There is there is like no room for error. This track is very unforgiving if you go offline, if you self spin, whatever it may be. Even if you overshoot the corner, like heading into 16 and 17 in the last chicane, and then down to the bus stop, obviously heading through turns 10, 11, 12, and 13. it's very, very difficult. You have to make sure that you are on top of this track tonight. Don't overdrive yourself if you're not very comfortable driving this track. Let the car come to you. Feel it out, obviously. The first lap, you're going to be sketchy. It's going to be sketchy regardless because you're going to be running against, what do we got tonight? We have 26 cars running. You're going to be against 25 other guys. So you have to make sure that you just keep your own pace. You can't win this race on lap one. You just can't. It's not how it works. This race with the road courses, they're methodical. You have to think a lot, and obviously you have to be there at the end.
Yeah, 100% there. Do not, I mean, you might have a better chance of winning this thing on lap one, but no, just don't do it. It's not worth it. You got to let the tire temps build up and get the grip in the car before you can hammer down, which takes a few laps to do so here at the Roval. But our cameras are going to come off your guys' screens. We're going to focus on the starting lineup here for the Whitewater Express 45 and a very familiar front half of the field here. Going to start it off with that number 28, Ryan Bean, picks up another pole this season. Nathan Campbell in the 45 are in the same paint scheme all season long, starting P2. Andrew Little, who has not loaded up yet, but really good starting spot for him. Going to be starting P3 this evening. Blake Cowell in the 26, going to start 4th. Rusty Modesty in the 6th, going to start in 5th place. Harold Watkins in 6th. Brian Fine in 7th. Matt Hayden's going to start in 8th. James Catrone in 9th. And Brock Potter takes the 10th place starting spot.
Top 20, you have Anthony Yuns there in the 54 machine. He'll start 11th, starting 12th. You have Michael Sheffield in the beautiful red, white, and blue number 1. 13th, Kane Lee, who had a very strong run at Talladega 1 week ago. 14th, Richie Coy finished 3rd last week at Dega. He ran the road course race here last night. He should be strong for sure. Stan Carnathan, 15th on the grid. He unfortunately had a little bit of a mishap last week at Talladega. Could have won the race. Not enough. He'll start 15th today. Robert Fitzpatrick Sr. coming off of the top 10. He'll start 16th. And then you have Rob Fitzpatrick Jr. He'll start 17th. Nolan Potter will start 18th there in the 34 machine. Alexander Hodge in 19th. And Adam Boughton in the number 10 will start 20th.
21st is Michael Carter. 22nd, James Fitzmaurice. 23rd, Kevin Zabladil. 24th, Jerry Culver. 25th, Justin Hendry. And Tony Ludi in the 8th will be starting last place in 26th position here for this 45-lap event for the Whitewater Express 45. And I see Robert Geary on the Facebook side of the chat saying the start-restart zone is very tough. That is absolutely true. We saw that yesterday for the stage, start of 2 and 1, and they start right in the center of the kink of 17 and 16. So you don't get that straight launch. It really spaces out the field early. But if you try to, contain yourself that too wide heading into turn number 1, causes a lot of problems, or it can anyways.
Definitely, and obviously we saw too on Sunday is going through that chicane. When you do in fact restart, or even on the initial start here, you're going to see a lot of guys get spread out very quickly. A lot of guys could probably try to gas it up a little too early. We could even see a spin right on the start, right before you even literally cross the line to start the very first lap. We could see some controversy going into turn 1, even through turn 2. That's the thing about these restarts, Jeremy. I think that makes this track so exciting with how tight this track is, how unforgiving it is, and not being able to make any mistakes whatsoever because it's going to cost you a tremendous amount of time out on the racetrack. You're going to see these guys beating and banging for every single piece of real estate here tonight, knowing that track position is absolutely key here at a road course.
Speaking of starting position and track position, that is the number 11 Alexander Hodge, who did not qualify, pending 14th through 26th. All those guys did not post a qualifying time. They elected to go by the iRacing starting way, which is by iRating. So highest to lowest there. Alexander Hodge in 11 requested EOL, so he's going to go from 19th back to 26th to make it just a little bit more challenging for that number 11 Chevrolet Camaro here to get through tonight's field. And just a quick update on the points before we get the round of 8 started, or round of 12 rather. Ryan Bean, Nate Campbell, Blake Howell, Brian Fine, and Adam Belton. That's your top 5. 6 through 10 is Nolan Potter, Zach Strenthal, James Catrone, Harold Watkins, and Andrew Little. And the last 2 positions on the cut line, or on the bottom of the cut line rather, is going to be Brock Potter and Anthony Ludi. Which at 8th place, where the cut line is, James Catrone, -14 from the leader, -18 from 12th place. So only a 4-point gap separates from being in and being out. It is a 2-round event here for the round of 12. So this week and next week to get yourself in the round of 8. You got to have a clean race here. This is my wild card event. Next week will be a lot easier to kind of figure out who's going to do well, who's not. And we're going to see exactly how these guys tackle 45 laps here. Pace car is in, waiting for the cut, the 16 to 17. There it is. Green flag is out. Smooth start for the top 10 as they get to the start-finish line. We're underway.
In the 45 of Nate Campbell, he nearly hit the wall right there on the initial start coming out of 17, and he almost hits it that time. He's going to go right in front of the field, causes a massive stack up heading out of turn 1. Rusty Modesty involved. Blake Howell, Anthony Yun's involved as well, I believe. Lots of guys taken out right in the first corner, and this is going to bring out our first Roasted Gems Coffee caution flag of the night after the 45 of Nate Campbell, one of your playoff contenders for the championship hunt, goes around off turn 1.
Thankfully, that's a slow area of the track to wreck, so the damage probably not too crucial. We're going to go back to the Nerd TV replay to take a look at this. Turn 1, very tricky. We already talked about it here on restarts. And the 45, Nick Campbell, just hits the bumps a little too hard, kicks his car sideways, crosses over Blake Howell in the 26. You see Rusty Modesty in the 6 also come through with a little T-bone effect. And right really far back, Bob Fitzpatrick just destroys the turn 1 outside while they're in engine grenades as the 45 at the same time gets lifted up in the air. So about 4 cars involved in that first wreck. And then all by himself, the 3 takes him out of the race on lap 1.
Right there. I think the 45, besides the 3 in the back, the 45 and the 6 definitely had the hardest hits out of that little pile up coming out of turn 1 into 2. Obviously, Nate Campbell, we talked about last night, Jeremy. And oh no, who is that went around right there off the front bumper of the 3 machine right there? We're going to have to see if we could catch it. And then you see the 3 just overshoots the corner right into the Tums Heartburn turn. And that would be the number 34 machine. Yeah, that's Nolan Potter right there. That's another guy in the playoffs. Can't have a mishap like this. The same thing goes for Adam Boughton. He's in the point standing. So a lot of playoff guys here, Jeremy, involved in some incidents early on.
Yeah, that looked really bad there for Bob Fitzpatrick to go through the kink before the start-finish line. Already turns the number 10, I think that was there, of Adam Boughton, like you just said, and then gets in the very next corner all by himself, overdoes it, and then completely destroys the engine. And he is out of this race, lap 1, turn 1. So he's going to finish last, 26th place in this field here this evening. Everybody else that has damage, I think they're good. I'm observing the 6. He's got a pretty decent right front fender pushed in, but I think everything's connected on that car. The 45 looks okay. This is Rusty Modesty's roof camera here on this initial start. Gets through turn 1. You see the 45 go wide, bump, bump, kicks him sideways. And just a little contact there to the door panel of Blake Howell. And that's what pushes in his right front fender. But I think, like I said, everyone's good to go. Just get them all lined up and reset.
2 things to point out about this yellow flag, Jeremy. So, A, we talked about right before we were dissecting that caution more and more. I was going to say, you talked about going over those bumps. Last night, we saw that be an issue continuously coming off of turn 1 for the FTSR Mach 1 Performance Cup guys, like Richie Coy, even though he had a strong finish inside the top 5, I believe it was. You know, that's the thing about this car. The rear diffuser drags. There's a lot of downforce on this car. And the way that this car works compared to the Gen 6 car is it does not handle bumps very well. We saw back at Darlington, lots of guys getting loose off too due to the transition and the bumps. The same could be said here tonight at the Charlotte Roval coming off turn 1. There's just a lot of bumps coming in there because that area of the racetrack is considered the infield. It's not usually raced on unless it's the road course or for track access vehicles or, obviously, track personnel. And that right there is just an unfortunate event for most of those guys. Unfortunate, hurtful day for the 45 of Nate Campbell. And I think the second thing to point out too, Jeremy, is more than half the time we don't see cautions, full course cautions at least, on these races anymore when it comes to the road course. But I think the RSR guys, I think they had no choice but to throw the yellow just because of the amount of pileup that they had with all the cars involved heading into turn 1, because that was a slow start for everybody but that number 28 of Ryan Bean. And a lot of people could have gotten connected, and a lot of people had to slow down and practically come to a stop. So they had no choice but to throw the yellow flag.
Yeah, I forget if it was last week or the week before that we actually brought up the question of why was there not a caution. There was a wreck that involved the 34 Nolan Potter. Completely got wrecked by a multiple car wreck. They ended up going to the bottom of the track eventually, but that was one of those things to everybody in the survey and us in the booth. We were like, why is the caution not out? And they said they rely on the iRacing game or simulation to provide that caution, but there is a rule in the rulebook that allows admin discretion, and so they're pretty strict on when they throw it manually because they don't want to affect the actual iRacing calls. But this one, it was so congested there in a really tight segment of the track, they had no other choice but to throw it, or else they're going to cause a huge gap separation between the first couple of guys who made it through. Everybody else would have been at least 5 to 10 seconds back, and it just would have not been fun. So that was a great call, I say, to utilize that rule book rule and to throw the caution manually.
We're going to take a look at it here one more time. You're going to see this 45. Watch this car bounce. When he exits turn one, the car starts to bounce right there. If we could rewind it again just one more time, you're going to see the rear end of that car start to pick up right after he gets through that seam. As we look at it in slow-mo, it's going to happen right here. That car, the rear end starts to pick up off the ground. It doesn't like the settle of the transitions. And in fact, our leader, Ryan Bean, didn't even notice, Jeremy. It's not going to be obviously a detrimental amount of damage to his car, but he, in fact, brushed the wall coming off turn number one. So it just goes to show you how tricky it is to get off turn number one and have a smooth entry and a smooth exit.
Yeah, and it's fixed setups too, right? So if you were paying attention yesterday, a lot of the cars were doing the same bumps as they're going to be doing here tonight. But with the factor that they have an open setup, they can adjust the bump stops, make it a little bit smoother to ride over those things. The fixed setup, if it has a much stiffer suspension going over these bumps, you see right there on the roof camera how bumpy that transition is onto the road course section. You can't plan for it as easy, and so that's why cars are probably going to get a little more loose here this evening. But we are a couple corners away from going back to green flag and resume this race on lap number 4. And the 45 was issued EOL for causing the wrecks, and the yellow rather, so he'll be going to the tail end for this restart. Ryan Bean's going to resume P1. Andrew Little in that 68 is going to be on the inside lane here, surprisingly, on this restart.
This is going to be interesting to see which one of these guys gets out in front. Remember, Ryan Bean tapped the outside wall there on the restart. Will he do it again here coming off one?
Here we go. Great launch here by the 28. Clears them by 5 car lengths over the 68 of Andrew Little. Going off into turn number 1. Will they make it through clean this time? Corner exit looks like top 5. Top 10 look to be good to go. Little one car slow at the bottom. No problem. No, there goes the number 5. Matt Hayden noses it into the inside wall on the exit of turn number 2. He keeps it going. This will not trigger a caution. We stay green.
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker right there for the 5 of Matt Hayden in the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 Chevy Camaro. Unfortunately, just coming off turn 2, the same thing, the transition, no bumps, but just because of that transition, going from the little part of the banking down onto the flat surface, it just kind of disrupted the car. He was in the throttle, started to spin out. He keeps it going, but that is some heavy damage to the front nose of that car. That is going to play a dividend for him here in this race for sure.
Yeah, you gotta be worried about what broke internally in that car. Of course, you get a little more airflow to the nose, so radiators should be just fine. But aerodynamically through the oval section, it might cause his car to get a little tighter, so it's going to cost him some speed there. But looks like through this camera angle through the bus stop, we're seeing a lot of single file action already as we've almost completed the first green flag lap here. 3 wide actually in turn 3. The 26 undercuts the 24 and the 34. That's going to be with Blake Howell, Nolan Potter here as they go to turns 15, 16, 17. Little brake lock up and the contact there from the 24 sends him around to the Toyota part of the infield.
He's going to keep it going here, just hopefully doesn't get hit by anybody, cause any other damage, and he's going to get away from that cleanly. But unfortunately, just very, very tight. It's so hard to go side by side going through that rear chicane in 16 and 17. It's kind of like a forbidden rule to go side by side, or at least a moral rule. You just can't go side by side through there. 24 too low into the corner, unfortunately overshoots it, and he gets into, and I think Andrew Little might be in trouble. He just dropped a ton of positions right now, and he was in second, and now he is dropping. Kane Lee, Michael Sheffield, they're dropping many positions as well. There's a 68 around going through the carousel, basically, almost out and into the sponsorship banners and the tire barrier. And we'll see if we can get a replay here on anything else that went on. Remember, I said Kane Lee, Michael Sheffield. I think they might have had an incident here. We're going to take a look.
Yes,
And
they
this
did.
is from the one of Michael Sheffield. And he just goes around right there in the middle of the corner. And I can only imagine that Kane Lee's probably going to come through here and more than likely slam into the one machine. Yes, he does.
Yeah, good call there. Keeping up on all the live leaderboard stats there on your end. Kane Lee had almost nowhere to go. I think maybe he had a little bit of space to the outside, but he liked to take maybe the small gap there on the bottom and did not pay off for him. We lost several seconds on that exchange. That all happened within just a couple seconds. And the 38 here, James Catrone in 5th place gets heavy loose through turns 3 and 4. He's going to gather it up and bring it back onto the racing surface, but it's going to cost him another 2 spots here, maybe back down to 7th place. So right now, through the first 6 laps, Jason, we got tons of action on the track.
This is surprise. This is no surprise at all, Jeremy. This is the Roval. This was the race, besides Talladega in the playoffs, that was going to be that wild card race. In fact, some guys view the road course as more of a wild card. Obviously, you have your dominators like Ryan Bean, but you also have the rest of the field that are not very experienced with the road courses. And I mean, that's the thing about these road courses. You just don't know what's going to happen. Most of these guys, they don't run road courses. They run ovals. And oh no, we got more trouble right there. Brock Potter around in front of the field as well. So it just goes to show you how tricky this track is for these RSR guys here tonight.
Doesn't matter if you're 2nd place, 5th, 10th, last place. These guys are having problems all over this grid right now. Keeping our producer Dustin Loxton super busy, which shout out to him, by the way. Did an excellent job last night, and right now keeping up with all the demands so far early on in this event. So shout out to Mr. Dustin Loxton. They're working the cameras. But yeah, that was number 4, Brock Potter. He was 5th. He dropped 2 spots. Now he falls back to 7th place behind that 38 James Catrone, who 1 lap ago spun out in this section of the track. Looks a lot cleaner this time for the 38.
Yeah, and the 4 right there only spun out heading through that back straightaway chicane, bus stop, whatever you want to call it there, because he jumped over the curbs just a little too much, and he was in the throttle, cutting the wheel to the right, and unfortunately, when he got back to the gas, he was just going around. You're going to watch him right here going down this back straightaway. Watch how much he hits this second curb. He gets through 1. That's fine. Now he's okay. He's going to cut back to the right. Look at how high up off the ground he gets right here. And unfortunately, he's already too much in the gas. Car just starts to become very, very unsettled. The rear of the car starts to bounce up and down off the ground just because of that transition. It was not sitting pretty for that 4 of Brock Potter. Thankfully, everybody else able to get around him unscathed.
On that inside wall, when he tail slapped, it actually straightened out his car and kept it from spinning out maybe at a 90-degree angle on the exit of the bus stop. So saved him at least 3 to 4 seconds, I would imagine, at minimum. And going through the field here, things are kind of spaced out. I'm kind of keeping my eye on the 26 here, Blake Cowell. He's having a pretty decent race right now with the number 34, Nolan Potter. This is for 8th and 9th place. They've been nose to tail for overlap. And you see Anthony Ludi in the 8th getting really jumpy there on the front half of these bun stops. And you could just see the car, Jason, just bounce, 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 and he loops it.
Yep. Same thing as that 4 of Brock Potter before. Unfortunately, just went around right in the bus stop due to that transition and getting way too much air off of those turtles, we called them. So that was unfortunate to see for him. We're kicking it back. I think we're going to see more Nerd TV replays tonight than probably actual live on-track action. Here's the number 54 machine coming through the corner. Unfortunately, just goes right around. That's Anthony Yuns. Off turn number 1 again, another troublesome spot right there, just for another guy. Loops it back around, but whoa, right in front of the field. Hang on, Matt Hayden, Nate Campbell, and Blake Howell right there, I believe it was. That was unfortunate, but man, oh man, lots of trouble just 9 laps into tonight.
Dustin's kicking it back one more time. I think the 32 here, Kane Lee, overshoots the transition onto the flat there. He's going to lose the entire front clip. It looks like maybe the left front wheel has some damage. You see the left front fender come off, and yep, he parks it early, at least for the tow. So Kane Lee has some huge damage early, and I see also Nerd Motorsports driver, at least in the making, Richie Coy. He is actually out of tonight's event. He did back out, so did not start the race. So 25 official guys made one lap here this evening.
Fortunate for Richie Coy because he's a very good road course racer. Definitely a guy who could probably compete here tonight with Ryan Bean and Brian Fine. And Brian Fine might have something for Ryan Bean here. He's about half a second off of Bean's fastest lap as for Fine's lap. But remember last night, Brian came into our chat here on the YouTube side of things, watched the Mach 1 guy, said, hey, picking up a couple notes here for tomorrow night. Definitely going to be able to learn some things. As I say that, he overshoots the bus stop there, but does no damage. He'll keep it going, back by nearly 9.5, almost 10 seconds. He heads into NASCAR 3 now, into 4. Brian Fine, he could have something for Ryan Bean. Don't really know how good of a road course racer Brian Fine is, but in case something were to happen to Ryan Bean, I think Brian Fine definitely could be one of those guys to probably pounce on the attack mode. And the same could be said, I think, for Harold Watkins.
Well, I think he's doing exactly what he learned yesterday, run clean laps, but no one yesterday, to my knowledge, overshot the bus stop there on the back half of it and hit the inside wall. So Brian Fine is learning that part of the track right now. He learned everything else yesterday. Jumping over to another Nerd TV replay. At least we're going to see if we got another piece of action here. Looks like maybe the 54 this time, headed to the bus stop in this sun-beaten down Red Bull Ford Mustang. And oh yeah, just overdrives
That's
the
going to hurt.
middle section. And oh, he locked
he
it
didn't
down,
touch
Jason.
anything.
No.
I can't believe he didn't touch anything. I thought for sure, Jeremy, what I thought from when we were looking and Dustin was showing us the front of the car from that back straightaway angle, I thought he was going to overshoot the corner and just blow the bus stop. Turns out he just did not cut that thing right after he got past that first turtle or rumble strip, rather, and he just went right for the wall, and I cannot believe that he was able to save it. Matt Hayden, good job by not being able to spin it out. He'll slow down, give up the position, and obviously with the iRacing side of things in the sim world, you do not need to come to a stop. You will just get warnings out on this racetrack or time penalties depending on what you run. So that's fine. You don't have to stop, but sometimes series or leagues, they will require you to stop if be necessary. Matt Hayden, though, great heads up driving by him to not overcorrect the car, try to make the corner. He knew he was going to miss it and decided to just go right through the infield.
Yeah, it looks like he almost gained an advantage there. He cut it, didn't have to stop. He got the iRacing yield penalty, which is probably a second or two at most, and served it, and he's good to go. I'm going to jump over to the YouTube and Facebook chats. I see a couple of chats. One from Robert Geary saying Blake moving up. Of course, him and Sheila are rooting on Mr. Blake Howell, that number 26, which right now is currently in 8th position. And then Richie Coy, after backing out of the server on the YouTube side, comes on and says, what's up, nerds? Got called away for a work emergency. Couldn't start the race. Got some practice in, and that was it. So at least you made an effort, man. Hopefully we'll see you next Tuesday. But jumping back to the action here. Things have really spaced out, Jason. I'm looking at the board, and maybe the 68 and the 17 are right now the best two cars on the track when it comes to on-screen action.
Yeah, and we got a stage caution coming after lap 15. So, I mean, Ryan Bean, he's kind of just trying to learn this track, learn how his car reacts. The same could be said for maybe Brian Fine or Harold Watkins, who have pulled away a little bit from the field. Ryan Bean, though, he is class of the field currently for these first 12 laps that we're now on here at the Charlotte Roval. I think that Ryan Bean definitely is going to be the guy to beat, but we saw him brush the wall out of 1 on that initial lap. So not everybody is safe. Even your leader, Ryan Bean, he could very well make a mistake. Last night in the FTSR Mach 1 Performance Cup Series, we saw the leaders occasionally make a few instances with mistakes. I mean, you know, for goodness sakes, we saw the 15 and the 24, your two race leaders, get into it coming into turn number 8. And they spun each other out and gave the stage win away to Danny LaFleur with 2 laps to go. So it just goes to show you that anything can happen on these road courses, even if you are a road course guy. So we'll have to keep in touch with that. Ryan Bean, though, doing a great job over Brian Fine and Harold Watkins. It looks like Bean's probably going to come away with the stage win here at lap 15 easily.
Yeah, he's gaining over a second a lap. No problem whatsoever over the second fastest guy in the field. So just absolutely dominating this circuit, not even halfway into this event. And yeah, this 68 and 17, that's Andrew Little and Kevin Zabladale. They're they're having a really good battle right now. They're actually still contending with that 23 year old Watkins, who's just over a half a second in front of them. But right now, these two will not lead the bumpers, and this is for fourth and fifth. Some pretty good points.
Yeah, definitely for sure. I mean, obviously, the point standings were very, very tight coming into tonight's race. Obviously, kick starting the round of 12, everybody was separated by 18 points from Ryan Bean all the way back to last place in the points right now being Anthony Ludi. So it's very tight. You need to have a good day. I would say probably everybody besides Ryan Bean and Brian Fine have had some kind of issue here tonight. That are in the playoffs from these first 13 laps we've put on the board. It just goes to show you this is definitely a wild card race. You don't know what's going to happen. Maximize your points and have a solid day because that's all you can do here if you're not a road course guy.
Yeah, this is what Andrew Little has to realize, right? He is 10th in points. He is 2 away from being in, currently sitting out in these 2 races. So he needs to stay in front of this 17 who is not in it for the points. So a lot more is at stake to get every point possible here at the Roval for Andrew Little. He's got to do it in 2 more laps. Got to hold off this really fast Kevin Zabladale. But he's also looking at 23 Harold Watkins, who they continue to gain just ever so slightly more on this 23. So, anything can happen here. We've seen tons of mistakes already. Just kind of keep the wheel underneath it for 2 more laps to at least breathe and get some stage points.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's just breathing room, and that's the thing. There's a lot of breathing room for Ryan Bean. There's not as much breathing room back between third to fifth. I mean, Andrew Little's right back behind Harold Watkins by less than 0.5 of a second. Kevin Zabadell, he's back right there. 0.3 of a second. These guys are nose to tail pretty much right now. So this is 4 stage points that are on the line for drivers like a Harold Watkins and whatnot, and like an Andrew Little. They have to maximize their points because you never know what can happen by the end of this race, and you never know what can happen to you going into Las Vegas next week as well.
Yeah, another one of these guys, too, is in 8th place. That's Brock Potter. He is in the points. He's 11th out of 12, and he's currently P8. So if he makes one mistake, he can drop outside the top 10 and get no points. So he's also another car that really just needs to lock down this final lap or so. He's riding on board Kevin Zabladale through the bus stop as he does make the pass over Andrew Little. That's going to move Andrew back to 5th place. That's just 1 less point. So right now, currently sitting with a +5 for him at stage break.
Was a great maneuver there by the 17 of Kevin Zabladil heading down into that bus stop area. I mean, we saw him. I thought he was going to overshoot the corner, but here we go. Looking at it, he's going to pull out a line. He gets hard on the brakes, man, and I don't know if he's adjusted his brake bias or what, but, man, he must have them dialed in because that was a very, and I would say very about 3 more times with an extra very at the end, aggressive move there heading through the bus stop, and heck, he could very well pick up this 3rd spot right here if he doesn't overshoot the corner like he did there heading through turn number 3, and out of 4 he's almost right to the back bumper of Harold Watkins here on this last lap. He might be able to get there. He's putting a lot of pressure on him, tries the crossover. He might get him right here, puts the bumper to him actually, coming out of the carousel as they head through 7, now to 8. I think this 17 is going to get this 23.
Harold Watkins is P9 in the points too, so you would hate to see the 17 who's not in it for points bump somebody out of the way who's in it for the championship. Getting a little too close to that bumper here. This is the final lap. He's going to make the crossover to the bottom. Let's see if he keeps the brake under control. He does, and an excellent pass back-to-back on Andrew Little and then on Harold Watkins to get that spot. It's going to move him to P3.
That was great execution, but now obviously coming to the checkered flag, Harold Watkins and Andrew Little are pretty much side by side. Here's the 8 of Anthony Ludi in trouble yet again, heading out of turn number 1. Just loops it around, something he definitely did not need at all. But it looks like this is going to be the end of this stage. I don't know if we're going to have a yellow flag. That is the question, obviously. Here's the 4. This is Brock Potter. Looks like he's ran into some trouble as well, heading through the chicane. Oh, and Rusty he just gets in there too hot. Unfortunately, gets into that 4 of Brock Potter, battling for position. Rusty lays off. heads up move by him to not just continue to drive through the 4, and they keep going. Class act by Rusty Modesty.
Gave him the Denny Hamlin treatment there over driving turn 16, but caution is out for that stage break here, as we're going to go one more replay here with Michael Sheffield in the 1. Going to cut through the bus stop. Wide entrance, hard bump there on exit. It's going to drive it outward. Bump, 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 and once more, they lock up the tire to, or at least hit the brake hard. It kicks the rear end out. Good save, though, overall. But we are on caution here for the second time this evening, presented by Roasted Gems Coffee. Ryan Bean is your stage winner by 17.5 seconds over second place Brian Fine in the 57. And I think this is our time to kick it to picture-in-picture commercial break. We'll be back with you guys shortly before the drop of the green flag. And back full screen here as we have just over a lap left in this stage in caution before we go green flag. This is going to resume on lap number 20. And remember, we have 45 laps total, so it'll be a 26 lap shootout when we get the green flag here in a lap and a half. And kind of talked about who do we talk to, Jason, when we come to this caution here, which is probably going to be the last one we see this evening, pending there's no major pileup in turn one once again. And I think we're going to talk to the man who came out first out of pit road, that number 17 of Kevin Zabadil. So just give me just a second. I'm going to bring this guy in here, and we're going to get a word with him. Kevin, this is Jeremy and Jason in the Nerd TV booth. You have a copy.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, man, it's going great. You guys are keeping us busy, especially our producer Dustin, throwing out tons of replays and camera angles to try to keep up with everything. You passed 5 cars on pit road. Was that something that was in your cards?
Yeah, we ran a practice race with another league here, and I just felt like putting cold tires on it. It was so hard to get going that, you know, there's not a ton of tire wear. It's really more in the heat, and so I'm trying fuel only, and we're going to see how this works. I mean, they're going to look real smart or really dumb here in a few laps.
Yeah, and Kevin, obviously, we saw you, man. You were one of the most aggressive guys going into the bus stop on the back straightaway. Do you feel like you can attack going into the corners better than most of those guys up at the front?
Well, a lot of it was just the situation that we were in and the cars that we were around. Got a teammate left in the playoffs, the 38 Catrone, and so really just trying to get as many points as I could taken away from those other cars that are also in the playoffs. So, you know, I got a run on the inside of Andrew Little, and I knew I just kind of had to take it. And the same thing with Harold Watkins a couple laps later. I'd already kind of decided with about 3 or 4 laps in the stage that I was either going to pass those 2 guys or I was going to back up and let the 38 back by me. So either way, it was kind of a, you know, going to net out the same for him on the points. But obviously, you know, the racer in you really want to get the spot rather than give up the spot. So it's definitely it's fun getting a run like that, but there's a couple white knuckle moments.
I love the team strategy when it's a fixed setup race. You can only do so many things to help your teammates, and to keep that awareness on check to help them go through the points, that's excellent, man. But go ahead and have a good rest of your race here for the final 26 laps. We're going to let you get back to your channel, and maybe we'll talk to you here in the end of the race.
I hope so. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. You're welcome. And that was Kevin Zabadil in the 17 car, pulling off some excellent team strategy. I think we talked to actually Harold Watkins, Jason, a couple weeks ago about what can you do to help your team, and right there is exactly what you want to see.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously, Kevin Zabadil, he's really, really fast. He's a guy who, you know, he'll get out of the way if necessary, if need be, you know, and whatnot. But, you know, he's been really fun to watch this season so far. Since we started calling RSR here at the week of Atlanta, it's been really fun to see these guys brawl. And Kevin Zabadil's a guy, he's like a hit or miss driver, and that's nothing against him at all. That's just the sheer fact of the luck, the way that we obviously observe him up here in the booth. He's a guy who is just a hit or miss driver, and he's had a few shining moments. Tonight could be his shining moment. I will say, I really like the strategy that he pulled along with the other guys to just take fuel only and not take tires, but it's going to be very hard to hold off Ryan Bean. I think that their best thing for them to happen is that Ryan Bean gets caught up in an incident possibly, or somehow he's just not able to pass him.
I was really surprised to see, especially Brian Fine. Remember, he joined us yesterday for the FTSR broadcast, and he was like, I'm just here taking notes. I guess he must have missed the pit stops where they took no tires and still are running super fast lap times, 40-plus laps into the event. Brian Fine took 4 tires, puts himself P8. So we'll see if he can make his way back up to the field here. Come through 16 and 17. Green flag is out here. This race is back underway on lap 20. A little scattering there between 4th and 5th place. Top 3 get a little spaced out here. Really hard on the brakes. One car comes in. Looks like he's going to clear the pass. No problem. There goes 17. Kevin Zabadil. We just talked to him. But look at that. Did a nice little 360, and he keeps going straight.
Yeah, but Jeremy, that's definitely going to be heavy damage to the front of the 17 and the 4 of Brock Potter. He's going to overshoot the corner, get up on the turtles, nearly made contact with his teammate, and also the 17 as the 45 of Nate Campbell nearly went around. They're 3 wide, almost 4 wide.
Oh, no.
Oh, the 45 gets up and into the barrier through the carousel, collects the 54 of Anthony Yuns. The 11 of Alexander Hodge barely makes it through. Calamity here on the restart on lap number 20, heading through the carousel.
Nathan Campbell wants to remove any memory from this race here tonight. We're going to jump to the Nerd TV replay, and we're going to see what happened here. The 54, Anthony Yuns, just jumps the curbing, which we don't see too many cars hit that curbing right there, but he destroys it, goes right over the top, and smashes the right rear fender of the 45 Nathan Campbell, sends him wide into that tire barrier there. 54 loops it around. They keep going straight. Remember, it's green flag. It's a road course, so cautions come at a very, very sparse amount of time. And super unfortunate because the 45, he qualified P2. He was super fast this evening.
Lee also got involved, and that was all, like you said, Jeremy, just the 54 of Anthony Yuns getting way too deep into that corner. Hits the 45, turns him around. A heartbreaker for the 45. His first lap was not very good. His first lap on the restart wasn't very good either. Here's the 82 machine. This is Stan Carnathan, one of those guys. He could have won a Talladega last week, just couldn't do it. Had some contacts with Blake Howell. He overshoots the corner there, heading into 17-18. Keeps it going, though. And I believe that this is not going to be the last we've seen out of any sort of controversy on this racetrack.
I think another car in the back hit the wall on exit of turn 1. I think that was the 23 there, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, thankfully that is turf down there, not grass. Oh, we got another car spun in 3 and 4 here. I'm going to try to see exactly who that was. And it looks like it was the 68 of Andrew Little. And he got stuck on the curving, and he finally got off. It took him a while. So the 68's going to lose a ton of positions. He was 3rd place when he spun out.
And that's just a heartbreaker there. Like we talked about, there's just a lot of playoff guys having issues here tonight with 25 to go. Uh-oh, and there's the 34 machine involved. That's Nolan Potter. He's going to be having a little bit of an issue there going through NASCAR 3 and 4. He was very slow. I believe he could have looped it around going through the bus stop on exit possibly. Maybe we can tell you if we can have a look at that here in just a second. But a lot of guys having issues here. Something that you just cannot afford here in these playoffs. And, he just overshot the corner. He tried to go to the inside here of Michael Sheffield. Unfortunately, just overshoots that corner way wide, gets in there. And unfortunately, he's just going to have to do the iRacing yield sign. And he's going to let all these guys go by.
Yeah, it looked like he didn't even want to make the bus stop. He drove it in so much deeper than any brake would possibly allow him to stay in that part of the track. So he kept it wide, took the iRacing yield penalty, and continued on. And we have a battle for the race lead right now, and just now completed. Blake Howell. I know the Gearys are on the YouTube and Facebook cheering on Blake Howell. We got a brand new leader. That number 26, Blake Howell, jumps to P1.
Yeah, and Blake Howell goes to P1. Remember last week at Talladega, he had the opportunity to make a pass, was pushing Stan Carnathan. Unfortunately, he just got involved in something that was not something that he meant to do. Tried to side draft, got into Carnathan, sent them both sideways for a split second, and enabled Brian Fine to go right by them and steal the win away at Talladega. So Blake Howell trying to get redemption off of last week's win. You saw the 34 Nolan Potter. He went around on the exit of turn number 8. But man, oh man, it has been a barn burner so far here tonight. Ryan Bean not able to make up the time that he really wants to. Most of these guys now are starting to run inside the 21s to 20s. Obviously, Rusty Modesty, James Catrone, they're now in the 20s. Ryan Bean, last time around, 120, 143, fastest lap time of the race. So maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe Ryan Bean is going to be able to get back to the front.
When we saw Nolan Potter spin on turn 8 there, coming back onto the oval side, on the replay, on the live end, he actually overshot the bus stop once again, 2 laps in a row, so he had to yield for that. Now puts him back to where he is on the track, 26 seconds back last time at the line here. as they're going through turn 7 and 8 this time back onto the oval side here, as we're now focusing on the 38 and the 6 on your screen. That's James Catrone, Rusty Modesty, as we continue to have the iRacing iFlag map back on or up on the left-hand side of your screen there. And yeah, a lot of diversity there through the field. A big group of these guys, though, still on the oval side there, just at the bus stop, and then a decent amount of the rest of the field through the infield part of the track.
Definitely, you know, this is the thing though, is that this inner part of the racetrack here, is definitely the hardest, I'd say. I mean, you could make an argument and say that the chicane in 17 and 18 is hard. You could also make an argument to say that the back straightaway bus stop is the hardest place on this racetrack, but most of these guys find issues inside the inner part of the Roval, you know, of here at the Roval rather. So, you know, that's just part of it, obviously. You know, you're seeing a lot of guys have issues all over this place. We've seen a lot of action here tonight. Things are heating up, though. Battle for fourth's going on. Ryan Bean looks to try to get around James Catrone.
But an immense amount of pressure there as we're on the 48 now on the Nerd TV replay. Dustin just utilizing that button oh so much here, and another victim of overshooting the entrance there to the bus stop. This time is going to belong to that number 48, Robert Fitzpatrick Sr. He takes that racing yield penalty. No harm, no foul there. Continues going on, and there you see Ryan Bean is already past the 38 through the the Charlotte 3 and 4 oval. Oh, and contact. The number 6 Rusty dumps Ryan Bean, the race leader, in dominant fashion in stage 1. Gets taken out there as the 6 was trying to get past, and this is really going to set the 28 back. I don't know if he's going to have the time now.
No, right here, Jeremy. I want to say this might be on Ryan Bean, honestly, because he got into the corner. He kind of oversteps it and then just starts to clear himself. It looks like I think he thought he was going to be clear right there, right in front of the 6. We'll have to take another look at it from preferably the angle in which we first saw it possibly here. This 28 machine, he got into the corner. You're going to see him right here. He'll duck to the outside. He'll head down there, kind of start to not arc it as much, and he kind of just overshoots it. He thinks he's going to be clear. Rusty's running his own race right there. You could put some blame on the 28 machine if you wanted to, but really what's probably more thankful is that he didn't collect the 57 of Brian Fine, because Brian nearly got wrecked right there, heading out of turn number 17 there. But in my opinion, I think it was just a racing deal right there between the 28 and the 6. It's just Ryan, I think, thought he was clear coming out of 18.
Yeah, I don't see anyone having more of the fault than the other here, as we're looking at number 1, Michael Sheffield. Basically a rewind from what it was 20 laps ago, roughly. I think he was the same person that did that there in the center of the bus stop. Just had to lock it up and not hit the inside wall. But keeps it off the wall, retains green flag here. As we're cycling back to the field, it looks like we maybe have another incident with the 54 Anthony Eunice. Really bouncy right here. Hits that curb and it just kicks that car left. And is going to spin right in front of the 68 of Andrew Little. Shoots down to the inside of the track. No harm, no foul to everybody else. But man, there's just so many issues so far in this short race.
I believe James Catrone just had an issue as well. I was going to say, he looked like he was going down on the leaderboard. And again, the transition falls again on another driver here tonight. And this time it's the 38 of James Catrone. And look at Kevin Zabaldale just barely get through there. And man, oh man, what a recovery Kevin Zabaldale has done so far. And by the way, he is running only 0.3 of a second slower than Blake Howell. His best lap time is 0.3 of a second better than Blake Howell, though, in this race so far. I think that, Jeremy, this 17 might have some for these leaders despite that damage earlier.
38 of Catrone, that was third place. That was podium position when he kicked it sideways and spun out in front of the field there. Kevin barely missing the front clip there of James Catrone. So he's going to move himself into that third place. And yeah, even with that damage, the 17 has a decent chance. We're going to kick it to the 32 now and see what kind of issues he has. Cuts it really low there for some reason, not too sure. And then at the same token, he's just going to drive right through. And actually, he's going to take the stop and go, which in NASCAR, you're supposed to do that. You don't have to do that in iRacing, but that's going to eat up his yield penalty by stopping in that colored zone.
Definitely, and you know, like we talked about here tonight, you know, you don't have to do the stop and go. Oh my gosh, I was yawning, but yeah, you know, you don't have to do the stop and go here. you know, like you do in NASCAR, the way that iRacing works is usually they'll give you a yield penalty if you yield for a certain amount of time. I mean, if you do it too much, sometimes, occasionally, rarities, you can get black flagged. Um, so with that being said, I mean, it's probably something he didn't have to do. It's just, I mean, or who was that? Not the 34, rather. I believe it was 32 at Kane Lee. You know, it's just been a really tough night for Kane. He's going around almost every single lap. He's 12 laps down. There's nothing more else for him out here tonight besides if somebody were to wreck and maybe pick up a spot or two, but he's not battling for points. I think he's just out here trying to learn, but unfortunately, it's just not working out for him.
Mr. Yonnington, I do believe you are correct on that notion there.
Go home. Oh!
And, oh, the
Blake
26, Blake Howell, your race leader, makes some contact there to the outside wall, it looks like. Not too significant from what my view is, but you got to be cautious of that right front. It is so easy to break anything in that suspension, and he hit it right on the right front there, going through turns 3 and 4. It looks like it's okay. Curious to know if he has a meatball. He will have to pit if so, but right now he looks okay there. We focus on Ryan Bean, who got involved in an incident with the number 6 Rusty Modesty right there a few laps ago, and Ryan Bean, he dropped back to over 12 seconds initially after that spin out. He's already gained 3+ back. He's into the 9-second bracket. They're on lap 28 of 45. So at that pace, pending he can get around traffic easy, I don't know. It might be close. Remember, he won the stage by over 12 seconds.
It's going to be hard for Ryan Bean to do. And with 18 laps to go, it can be done. He's just going to have to make up a lot of time, and he's going to have Kevin Zabadil, Matt Hayden, Blake Howell have issues. In fact, last time around, Ryan Bean, fastest lap of the race and also his best lap, only one to crack the 19-second brackets. 1 minute, 19 seconds, 0.952. You see the 13 machine up and into the wall in 3 and 4. That's Jerry Culver. He'll get out of the way for your top 4 right there as they head through 17 and 18. Coming back to start-finish line, man, I just really like Ryan Bean's entries. He's really, really strong, can get through there very well. I also think this 17 probably is hurt despite that damage that he had earlier as well. This 28's looking to get around him.
In the past lap there, Ryan Bean gained another 1.3 seconds, 8.6 now back behind the 26 Blake Howell. He does now have the position on the back bumper of the 17 Kevin Zabadil, who is going to run it a little harder for his teammates. So he's not going to give the space there. And we know that they're looking on board the rear camera here, headed back to the oval turn 1 side here on the NASCAR circuit, when they do run the oval in the spring anyways. And Kevin has a great launch there off corner exit, which is going to not help Ryan Bean get through the bus stop. But I think through this bus stop exit and coming into the final chicane, I think this is going to be the passing moment here for Ryan Bean.
Yeah, probably going to be the passing moment for sure. He's going to be really strong here. He just wants to make sure that he doesn't make the same mistake as he did with Rusty Modesty earlier on there, heading through turn number 4 on the NASCAR side going into 17 and 18. Here's a replay of the number 11, Alexander Hodge. He falls victim coming out of turn that would be turn number 6. And then heading into 7, just trying to correct the car back to the other way, going from turn 6, turning right to turning left in turn 7. Unfortunately, he goes around, but keeps it back going, so good job by him. Ryan Bean, though, still not able to get past Kevin Zabadil. This could be an opportunity for him there. Kevin Zabadil goes a little bit wide, going through 3 and 4, just not enough. Ryan Bean, though, still right on his heels, heading into turn 5.
Yeah, that was a great drive there by Alexander Hodge to not completely loop it around. It looked like he had a little drifting action rather. But here's Ryan Bean, does a little crossover here through 6 and 7, gets to the inside of that 17. Kevin Zabadil a little loose on exit with tire spin. This will allow the 28 of Bean to get door to door. You know he's not going to give up this braking zone. He needs this position. There is open track in front of him if he wants any shot at this win. Oh, and Kevin's going to make some contact to the door panel. They'll still make corner entry. So Ryan now clear that, and he's got all the time now to regain that ground back up.
Yeah, that was that white knuckle racing that Kevin was talking about, heading down onto the back straightaway, heading into that chicane. Here's the number 8 of Anthony Ludi, and he's gone for a second, but it looks like coming out of the corner, I believe he could have an issue going into 1 here, more than likely another victim of the transition. You're going to see him come through one, gets a little bit loose. No, not yet. So the 8 machine looks like, yeah, it might have been just a blink in there. So connection issue that we'll have to keep on with Anthony Ludi there in the number 8 machine. Remember, came in 12th in the playoff grid. He does not need any sort of connection failure. And wow, what a hit for the 10 of Adam Boughton, one of your playoff contenders here. And another hard, hellacious hit to that concrete wall. No safer barrier. That thing is destroyed. I believe there, Jeremy, it's probably safe to say that the 10 of Adam Boughton is going to be done for the night.
8 of Tony Ludi has connection issues with internet, and Adam Boughton has connection issues with the outside wall. He came into this thing 5th in points, only 10 out from the point leader, Ryan Bean. And this is definitely going to be a huge setback for that 10. Going to be already back in 20th place plus, going to get that damage repaired. Might be falling back to 21st or 22nd at the most. I don't know. See how much damage he has to repair, but heavy implications there for a 2-race round. Remember, by the way, it's only 2 races, so this is a really bad race here. You're going to have to do something really good to maintain any type of points heading to the round of 8 here in 2 weeks from tonight. Actually, going to be 3 weeks rather from tonight, because no Halloween, so we'll be back on November side there. But I'm going to do a quick shout out to one of our partners here. The series sponsor, Best One Tire and Service, the official presenting series sponsor for the Tuesday Night Cup Series. If you're looking for a one-stop automotive repair and tire shop, Best One Tire and Service helps you get new tires, tire repairs, and auto service you need from the people you can trust. Check out where their nearest location is to you by visiting bestonetire.com.
I tell you what, man, I love that number 5 machine of Matt Hayden here tonight. He went from going around, having a hard crash, to now all of a sudden he's back up inside that top 3. And you could say this about the entire top 3. They've all been wrecked at some point. Heck, you could say it about this entire top 10. I don't think there is one guy out here besides Brian Fine and maybe Justin Henry that I've talked about at all tonight that have had issues. And here's Kane Lee again having another incident here going through turn 1. I believe he's just going to overshoot the corner. He does right into the Tums Heartburn turn. And he again gets more front damage to that 32 Camry.
He drives it in hot like his paint scheme there and just smashes the front end of that 32. We're going to jump to Anthony Eunice once more. Talk about going in hot. This 54 just completely forgot about the bus stop. Cuts back onto the service. I don't know how much of a yield penalty that is, but it didn't look like he slowed up through turn 1 anyway, so we'll have to see if that is held on. And also wanted to make a mention, 28 Ryan Bean, fast lap before at 19.944, the second time he has cracked the 19-second bracket, and he's moving up. He's already from 9.8 when he passed Kevin Zabodale to now 7.5, another 2.5 seconds gained from this 28. He still, I think, has a chance of getting there.
He definitely does, but he has to remember, Jeremy, he has to remember to take it easy. He has to push, yes, but don't push it in areas where you're not comfortable. Push in the areas where you know you can do it. If you kind of feel like you're not going to get through there, back off. Don't try to overshoot the corner thinking to yourself, I'm going to make it, because unfortunately we've seen that a lot here tonight be a common problem. We've seen it with the 26, we've seen it with the 5, the 28, 17, 6. Heck, this entire field probably besides Brian Fine and Justin Henry. So he needs to make sure he keeps his head on a swivel, make sure that he has that force feedback to a comfortable position where he can feel the car, how it's reacting, and also needs to be dialed in.
Another second gain that time. Now he's only 6.6 back of your race leader, Blake Howell. Only 2 seconds separates between the 28 and the 5. That'll be for P2. And Kevin Zabodale is another 7 seconds back of third place there. So the top 3 have really got themselves spaced out amongst the rest of the field here this evening. A couple cars that are battling for position. Kevin Zabodale and Rusty Modesty right now. This is on-track battle for 4th and 5th place, as they're nose to tail here going back to the oval side of the racetrack.
To tail, Rusty Modesty has had a great run tonight here at the Charlotte Roval. He's had a couple instances himself. Remember, he had that contact with the 28 of Ryan Bean, but nothing of his doing. Obviously, just a racing incident. The 28 probably thinking he was going to be clear. coming out of 18. This 6 of Rusty Modesty has really impressed me over these last few weeks. He's been right there in the hunt, just not had some shining moments there. But look at this. He's going to be going for 4th here on the inside of Kevin Zabadil. He's easily going to take that number 6 Sinclair gas station machine right to the 4th place position, passing the 17.
Michael Sheffield, the one putting himself back onto the Nerd TV replay. This time he's going to overdrive turn 5 entrance here. It looks like he gets a little loose when he touches the paint. Gets through turn 6. Saves it from spinning, but that's a blind corner. And you see a 13 Jerry Culver have to massively check up to avoid him. But then the 1 keeps it going straight as he allows the number 8 and others pass on the inside of 7 and 8. But thankfully no one was involved in that one.
Yeah, thankfully nobody was involved in that one, because that could have been huge there going out of the corner here as they head through turn number 8. Matt Hayden, though, he's going to have to defend on Ryan Bean if he wants anything. Remember, Matt Hayden, he still has a chance at winning this race. One mistake by Blake Howell, and Matt Hayden is right there, and the same goes for Ryan Bean. So it's not like Matt Hayden needs to just let this 28 by. He needs to hold them off, but he can't be making mistakes like that. Overshoots the corner a tad, gets over the turtles, and he's going to actually just give away the position of the 2nd place to Ryan Bean. So maybe in his head, besides defending, he's thinking, all right, maybe he can go run him down. Maybe they can make some contact and possibly wreck and hand Matt Hayden the victory like Ryan Blaney got due to Martin Truex Jr. and Jimmy Johnson's contact back in 2018.
I think that's an excellent call there by the number 5. Is actually going to look at the replay once more of the number 8, Anthony Ludi, just driving in way too hot there in turn 16, and then some wheel hops slash some rear braking sends him around on the entrance at 17, shoots way out there into the kink on the oval side, does a nice little 360, keeps it going, no problem for anybody on the field. But Matt Hayden came into this thing 13th in points. He was 1 spot away from making it last week. So he's out of the playoffs. So he figured just, hey, give up the position to Ryan Bean because it does nothing for him to block the number 28. So he let him by, and now he's setting sail under 5 seconds separate 2nd and 1st.
Yeah, think about it like that right there, Jeremy. So that's definitely a great point to point out here. And Matt Hayden's also hopefully having that little devil on his shoulder, probably saying, let him by, they can wreck, and you can take this away. That's probably what he's thinking as well. And Ryan Bean, by the way, last time around, nearly a second, 9/10 of a second faster than Blake Howell. This time by, we'll see what the lap times look like. And now that Ryan Bean has a little bit of clear track ahead of him, I wouldn't be surprised if he's close to his best lap time. That time by 1:20.9 again. Just 0.3 of a second faster than Blake Howell. So he is faster, but like we've talked about many, many times here in the racing world, Jeremy, it's one thing to get to a guy, it's another to pass him.
You saw Ryan Bean take over a lap and a half to get around the 17 of Zabodale, and that was for 4th place, or 3rd place rather. So it is definitely difficult to pass here at the Roval. You have to set the guy up. We're going to shout out one of our partners, Dusty Pete's, the official hobby shop for the Nerditudes. Hobby store worth a whole lot more. Based out of New York, Dusty Pete's is your one-stop shop for many things nerdy. If collecting is the game, Dusty Pete's is the name. From figurines and action figures to collectible cards such as Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, and sports cards to die-cast replicas, Dusty Pete's is the place. Wait, they have comics? That's right, Dusty Pete's has a plethora of comics for any nerd, young and old. So if collecting anything nerdy is what you want to do, then head over to the official hobby store partner for the Nerditudes at dustypete's.com. Super nerd at checkout. It's going to save you 10%.
Ryan Bean, he is gaining little by little right now. It is now under 4 seconds, almost to 3.5 now. Great launch out of turn 18. He's going to head into turn 1. Lose a little bit of time, but off the corner, Ryan Bean just looks so stout off these exits here. And you can see, he sees Blake Howell in his windshield. These two are going to be battling for sure before the end of this race. This 28 machine just needs to keep doing what he's doing like he's been doing, not make any mistakes, not get in any lap traffic like he's going to approach Anthony Yuns here. Yuns will let him right by, but out of the carousel, look at this back bumper cam of Blake Howell. He sees that pink black and white number 28 Toyota Camry XSE approaching very, very quickly in that rearview mirror.
Yeah, he's gonna get there. No doubt about it. This 28 looking great. If he ends up winning this race, Jason? What a remarkable defeat, right? Or feat rather to accomplish. He's gonna come in here, gonna have a 17-second dominating win on stage 1, and then he takes tires, puts himself outside the top 5, and then he gets involved in a little scuffle, and then ultimately gets him in the 6th involved into a 360 spin out there on the front straightaway, sets him at that point with 20-ish laps to go. Going to put him over 12 up to 13 seconds back, and then over a second gained per lap average. He has sped his way back up through this track to catch the race leader Blake Howell. Now that lead is under 2.5.
Yeah, it's getting very, very tight here, and Blake Howell is definitely probably worrying just a little bit inside of his sim cockpit, and he's got some lap traffic ahead of him. He's going to have to maneuver through them very, very quickly and have them possibly give Ryan Bean no break at all. There's the 13 of Jerry Culver. He overshoots it in the Valvoline Chevy Camaro going through the bus stop. He'll stop there, keep going, and back up to the front now. It looks like this gap could get below 2 seconds coming through the bus stop. It is 2.04, 2.03 for Ryan Bean. He sees the 26. He could smell the lead, and going down into the back straightaway, the 26 had to check up way big for the one of Michael Sheffield. That enabled Ryan Bean to gain nearly 0.4 of a second heading into the entry to the bus stop as they head through 3 and 4 on the NASCAR circuit.
Sheila Geary on the YouTube side saying, keep it together, Blake. I know the Gearys are cheering on Blake Howell to get this W. We've got a lock up here on turn 16. He is out of the way. No problem whatsoever. But man, oh man, here we go. The 26 is to make the pass on the one of Sheffield. The Sheffield machine keeps it up high, lets him clear. So now it's just now the 26 and the 28, the only 2 cars in each other's sights here for the next little while. And this next lap or 2 is going to be pretty fun.
The one of Michael Sheffield hurt Blake Howell's exit coming off. You saw off 18. Blake Howell was sitting inside. He did not get the exit that he wanted to, but just look at how strong this 28 of Ryan Bean is here coming into these corners. You can see entering the carousel through 7, heading into 8. The 28 machine just able to close up so much. But because he's getting in so hard, he's not getting the exits. It's funny because earlier on, he was getting the exits. Now it looks like he's getting the entries. So with that being said, I think if he can pressure Blake Howell with the entries that he's doing, like right now, heading into the bus stop, he could pressure him into a mistake here, Jeremy, as they head through the bus stop into the NASCAR 3 and 4 section of the track. Ryan Bean is right there. He could feel the lead here coming out of 4.
Going to be 5 laps to go at the line here, going through turns 16 and 17 right now. Right, left, at least Blake Howell will lead this lap here with 5 laps to go. The 28's probably going to be a little cautious through these next couple corners. It just seems like the back half of this track is way stronger for that 28. Probably going to play a little bit of the patience game.
Yeah, and here he goes right to this bumper as they head through 3 and through 4, heading for 5. The 26 gets a little loose on exit, but Ryan Bean doesn't get the exit that he wants to. Now heading into 5 and 6 through the carousel into 7 now. This 28 is starting to slowly gain to the 26 back bumper finally. Will he be able to do it coming out of 8? He's closed the gap. He's right there all over the back bumper of the Howell machine into turn number 8. Now heading for 9 and 10.
What an excellent drive there for Ryan Bean to get tucked up right behind Blake Howell. Not be able to see much. Where is the wall that kicks out? And he doesn't care. He drives it in nicely around that corner. Keeps it all the way to the back bumper. Does not lock up the tires. Oh, we got a car smashed into the wall. It looks like maybe the 13 Jerry Culver. Destroying the inside wall there on the back half of the bus stop. Now going through 14 and 15 here on the oval side. It looks like they're going to keep it single file here. 28 Ryan Bean almost put the bumper to Blake Howell, but Blake Howell's going to lead this lap. 4 laps to go.
Brushes the wall coming out of 18 and now into one. Bean is pressuring Blake Howell once more, but Blake Howell has been stone cold, hasn't made one mistake yet. If anything, the 28 machine has made more mistakes than this 26 through 3 and 4. Howell able to put the pedal down to the metal, coming off the corner, now into 5 and 6, going through the carousel. Blake Howell trying to defend from Ryan Bean, and this has been that section of the track here, Jeremy, all the way from 7 all the way to the exit of the bus stop, where Ryan Bean has been so strong all night long as they head through 1 and 2 on the NASCAR circuit.
Not as strong as he was last time. It's going to allow a 3-car separation between the 26 and the 28 onto the back straightaway to the bus stop here. And it looks like a little more separation. Oh, the 20 is going to drive it in super deep bumps. Blake Howell in the back bumper there on the beginning half of that bus stop. And it actually only hurts Ryan Bean now, as he has a 5-car gap to catch back up here to that 26 once more.
Becoming a great battle for the race lead, shaping up to be for the race win. And keep in mind, these two get together in a particular part of the racetrack that could send them offline. Matt Hayden is almost back by 8.5 seconds. That's quite a distance, but when you think about it in retrospect, he still has a shot at this win. He can't have any mistakes, but by this gap right now, it looks like this is going to be between the 26 and the 28 as they head through 3 and 4. And again, Ryan Bean with a nice exit, but Blake Howell will also get a nice exit as well, heading into turns 4 and 5 now, heading for 6 into 7. This 26 is starting to get a little bit wider on exit. The 28 could attack right here into 8.
Here we go, Robert Geary on Facebook saying either way, this is a great race. I can't say it any better there. This race has been excellent up to this point. Toward the end, this is exactly what we want to see 2 of the fastest cars on the track having at it here with the final couple laps remaining. The 28 goes to the bottom. Ryan Bean's going to make the pass effort. The 26, Blake's going to pinch him down a little bit, and he turns him. The 28 gets put into the inside wall, keeps it going straight, though. We stay green. But now, I think it's not over, but the 26 cannot make a mistake.
It's not over yet. Man, what an aggressive move by Ryan Bean. It could have been the only opportunity that he had. He decided to take it. Blake Howell didn't want to lift, and the 28 just overshoots the curb, doesn't give a lot of room to the 26 right there, and unfortunately, they make a little bit of contact. The 26, nowhere to really go. If he backs off, he loses the race lead, but the 28 trying to get the right arc out of the corner, unfortunately makes contact, sends him into the outside wall. But guess what? There's going to be more, as they say in those commercials. 1.5 seconds the gap is now, as there's just a lap and a half to go. Ryan Bean still has a shot at this win.
Yeah, at the line they were 2.2 separated. Now they're only at 1.5, so already almost a full second gain and a half a lap worth of time. So the 28 still has one last opportunity if he can get back to him. I think he makes hard contact to the outside wall there on the exit of turn number 8. But I think I heard Ryan Bean come on the radio and said that that was his fault, at least part of it. So at least no hurt feelings here. We shouldn't expect anything different when they get back together. If they do, Ryan Bean's car, though, heavily damaged, but still making gains.
And the gap is now almost a second as they're getting ready to come to the white flag here. Blake Howell cannot afford a mistake as he's going to come into 17 and 18 this time by. The gap's still the same as they head through 18. He's going to have to go through 18 more corners again. Blake Howell, white flag is in the air, 1 lap to go, and Ryan Bean trying to hunt him down and try to get redemption for the 3rd time for this race lead here as they head through turn 3.
Ryan Bean absolutely ramped the crap out of turn 16 Turtles, which really advanced his position on the 26 at Howell here through 3 and 4 for the final time. The 26th, little bit of tire slide. Blake Howell's going to have to get through the carousel through 6 and 7 with no problems. This is Ryan Bean's fastest part of the racetrack. Ryan Bean does not have a great exit there. Little slide from his rear tires going through 7 and 8 back onto the racing oval section of this track. And here we go, final time for the bus stop.
They're coming out of turn number 8 and down the back straightaway for the final time. He's starting to gain a little bit. It's 0.8 of a second. Ryan Bean, he's going to have to throw a Hail Mary down into here if he wants it. He's going to try to take it. Here he goes, drives it in deep into the way to the bus stop, nearly hits the wall. Blake Howell's going to get away with the race lead. It's 6, almost 7/10. Ryan Bean's going to have 2 more corners to try to make it happen.
Here we go, 14-15 right now. Final time. There's just not enough room. Anything he can do. The 26 is going to hit the curbs. Great, and the Martin Sports winning moment belongs to Blake Howell with that excellent race, probably the best one all season long. Blake Howell, congratulations there on an impressive victory over the 28.
I'm out of breath, man. That was a fun one to watch, man. I just cannot believe the fact that Ryan Bean didn't come through the field once. Didn't come back to get to Blake Howell once. He got there twice, and he almost got there, man. What a run. And if you're Ryan Bean, you can't be mad. You just can't. I get it. I've been there, man. I get it. It's a heartbreaker, and when we talk to him, I'm sure he's going to say some stuff probably from his side of the opinion, but also he's probably going to beat himself up maybe a little bit. It's a racing deal, man. You're battling for the win, heading in there through the carousel, or not the carousel, rather, but the bus stop. He tried it. He gave it his all. Jeremy, for all we knew, that was going to be Ryan Bean's only opportunity. You know, you just never know with these road courses. He tried to throw it down in there. He made it work, but to a certain degree, didn't leave a lot of room for Blake Howell, and Blake had nowhere to go but to jump over the curb. There was nowhere for him to go, and unfortunately, he just made contact with Ryan. Thankfully, it didn't send Ryan around fully, but he had a chance to get to him, overshot a little bit, then got another chance to get to him. Almost got there. Blake Howell, though, what a drive for holding off Ryan Bean.
Yeah, really looking forward to those 2 reactions there for sure. As Robert Geary on Facebook says, awesome. Congrats to both on an impressive finish there to the race. And then Sheila Geary saying that was a race. Congratulations, Blake. It truly was. My perspective before we jump over to the unofficial results is if you're going to make an aggressive move to the inside and completely pass the car just like that by just overshooting the entrance, you got to give a little bit extra space, or else, you know, the 26 is already, when you get to that corner like that, you already plan on what you're going to do. And when the 28 just shot through so quick, he had to quickly change his mind up while trying to jump some curbs at the same time. There's just a lot too much going on, in my opinion. And so just deem that a racing deal there as 26. Blake Howell just continues to burn him down here on the front straightaway. We're going to go over the unofficial finishing results here this evening for the Whitewater Express 45 and Blake Howell P1. Ryan Bean's going to finish second. Matt Hayden in the 5 will come home in third. Kevin Zabaldale in fourth. Nathan Campbell in fifth. Sixth place will be Rusty Modesty. Seventh, James Catrone. Eighth, Harold Watkins. Ninth place, Brian Fine. And 10th place, Brock Potter.
11th goes to Andrew Little. Tough night for most of this field here, going all the way back to Nolan Potter, Alexander Hodge. You have Henry, Sheffield, Anthony Yuns, a night that he's going to want to forget. The same goes for Anthony Ludi, Stan Carnathan, Jerry Culver, Adam Boughton. After a hard hit to that outside wall heading through one, he'll come home 20th tonight, and he'll most likely have to go into Vegas next week in a must-win situation.
Yeah, 100% there. 21st, Michael Carter. 22nd, Robert Fitzpatrick. 23rd, Kane Lee. 24th, James Fitzmaurice. 25th, Bob Fitzpatrick, and Richie Coy is your 26th and final entry in tonight's race. We're going to jump over to full screen commercial break, and we'll be right back after the few messages. And welcome back to Nerd TV for the Martin Sports post-race show. And I think we got our top 3 gathered up here this evening. First is going to be that number 5 of Matt Hayden. Matt Hayden, this is Jeremy and Jason in the Nerd TV booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Jeremy and Jason, how's it going?
Hey, going great over here, dude. P3 for you tonight. Very eventful night for you. A lot of different situations happened with you and a lot of people for that matter. Crazy race. There was probably at least 20 plus off-track incident points handed out. And walk us through your night and how in the hell did you get to P3?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm actually surprised to be sitting here at a road course talking to y'all. But, we had all that stuff happen at the beginning, and I got up to, I think, 5th. And on that restart after the first caution, just tires still weren't warmed up, and slid through the canyon, got sideways, fell back to 22nd. And so tried to figure up fuel mileage and pit before stage ended. I mean, I'm not in the playoffs anymore, so stage points really don't matter to me. So, yeah, man, it just worked out. I was waiting for, I figured half the people would have pit before stage to gain track position, and then everybody went down pit road, and I was behind the pace car. And I said, "Rut-row," and managed to just keep it clean enough to pull out third. So, can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, well, I tell you what, I think Captain Price there on your quarter panel was probably saying rut quite a few times here tonight, because you were in the wall at one point, man, completely turned around. I honestly thought, in my opinion, when I saw you hit that inside wall coming out of 2, I thought you were freaking done, because we saw how hard you hit it right there with that left front. Do you think that damage probably kept you a little bit slower than Blake and Brian there at the end? And how were you even able to drive back through with that damage?
To be honest, I don't think it slowed me down any. I think as far as lap time went, I was pacing about what I expected to pace here. So I don't think it changed much. I just think that with tires, you this track has got such low speed corners. You have to keep the tire temperature up as much as you can, and it's like the harder you run the car, the faster it'll go. And so it's just kind of, you can brush the wall as long as you don't knock toe out and everything like that. But I think I got some wide X hit markers all over the car from brushing walls from here and there. So, but yeah, thanks to Call of Duty and everyone being on the hood this week.
Hey man, that car, at least from our slow motion here in the podium rolls, that car looked like it had fender damage on all 4 corners of that thing. But congratulations, man. You don't know how you finished P3, but I know you'll take it. Excellent finish for you and your camp. Final thoughts before we let you go this evening.
I just shout out to Zab Motorsports. We were kind of grouped up there. I think my teammates behind me were faster and probably deserved to be higher up. We got kind of grouped together and got to race a little bit, and I think Rusty may have got a little bit of damage on that last lap, so it just kind of worked out. But just want to appreciate y'all for the broadcast, everybody out, RSR, and Austin, Alex out for watching.
Hey man, well, congrats once more, and we're going to catch you next week here.
Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. Now it's the number 5, Matt Hayden. Now it's time to bring in second place finisher number 28, Mr. Ryan Bean. Do you have a copy?
I got you guys. What's up?
Hey man, crazy drive. You have a 17-second lead ending stage 1, which I thought you were the clear favorite at this point. And then you took tires, some didn't, and it put you in the pack, and it kind of held you up a little bit, but you finally broke through the traffic, which was great. And then you got involved with the 6, it dropped to 12, 13 seconds back. And I'm like, I don't know, that might be too much for him, but you did it. And then you got involved in a late wreck, and you still almost made it back. So just how differently were you driving this track compared to everybody else to have such an amazing amount of speed here?
Yeah. First off, it was almost a good race. I was a wreck magnet tonight, whether it was my fault or not. But I think I was telling the guys, in the first stage, I noticed everybody was kind of sticking with me inside the track, on the inner side or the inner part. And then both the chicanes, I was gaining a second. So I'm pretty sure it had to do with my braking points. And I almost caught Blake again with 2 to go. I I overcooked it a little on the last lap. I think I could have got to his bumper, but all in all, it was a good day, and I can't. I mean, we were fast. It was almost a really cool drive. I still think it was, but a win would have been a lot sweeter.
Yeah, and I will definitely, obviously, side with you, Ryan, right there, is that you were faster on entry speed. At one point, you were faster on exit than you were on entry, but there at the end, man, you were gaining a second, sometimes even held a second and a half, 2 seconds coming into the chicanes, whether it be on the back straightaway or into 7 and 18, man. You were just very strong. I think your best part was probably heading out of the carousel and then into 7 and 8, heading into NASCAR 1. But obviously, got to talk about the contact there, heading down the back straightaway. You tried to make a move there off NASCAR 2, heading down into the bus stop. Looked like you were going to clear him, and obviously the 26 got up on the curbs, got into you. Your take of the incident there.
Yeah, I knew, like I said, I knew I was better in all the chicanes today, and I figured that's my only chance. He was really good through the inner part, and it looked like a dive bomb looking back at it, but I was perfectly under control. Like I said, I was able to break deeper than everybody today, so that was my benefit. And I was gonna clear myself, but I thought better of it. This is for the wind, and to me, I feel like I left him a lane, and it just drove through me, and heat of the moment stuff. I wrecked him after the race, but it keeps happening, so maybe there's a reason.
All right, man. Well, appreciate your thoughts on that, and congrats once more. That was an impressive race. I didn't expect you to be in the top 3 after you and the 6 got involved with it around lap 25 or 26 or so, but somehow you drove a 13-second gap down to 0 and then almost did it again, man. So just on that part alone, congrats on P2, and it's going to basically lock you into the round of 8 when we get there in a few weeks. But final thoughts before we let you go this evening.
This was actually a fun race. Obviously the contact you never want, but it's racing. I love that shit. And excuse my language, the stuff. And I'm still heated, obviously, but yeah, it was fun. Yeah, we just have to finish next week pretty much, and then we're on to the fun round. And yeah, I got to thank my team, thank the league, thank you guys up in the booth, and yeah, let's go gambling.
All right, man. Yes, sir. We'll see you next week.
Yes, sir. Thanks.
And that was the number 28, Mr. Ryan Bean. And now it's time to bring in our race winner, Mr. Blake Howell, number 26 of Blake Howell Designs. Blake, congratulations on the victory. Blake, this is Jeremy, the Nerd TV booth. You got a copy?
Sure do. Got you, man.
Hey, man. Congratulations, man. P1 here tonight. You set yourself up early for an awesome finish for you. The 28 is just so dang fast and got to you. I'm surprised anyone was able to catch you from that distance. But how did you put yourself in position to get yourself in such a great lead in that stage 2?
Well, I didn't take tires. With the way that the next gen is and its tire model, I could take tires and run the fastest laps I could run. Of course, they're nowhere near as fast as Beans is, but it was enough to get me out to a good enough lead to kind of hold him off.
Blake, congratulations on the win now, man. You're locked into the round of 8. You're heading into Vegas next week. I'm sure it'll be a great run for you. But obviously, I talked to Ryan, and I'm going to ask you, what is your side of the contact heading into the back straightaway? Because he said he didn't feel like he overshot the corner. He feels like he was better on braking, which I will side with him on that. He was very, very good on braking into the corners all night long, especially into the 2 chicanes through 17 and 18 out of NASCAR 4. And then obviously into the bus stop down the back straightaway. Your take there of the contact between you two that ultimately helped you propel to the win.
Well, it wasn't on purpose. He can think what he wants to think. It wasn't on purpose. I locked up trying to get in there too deep and tried to give him room as well. And I hopped the turtle and just threw me right into his quarter panel. I mean, I'm looking at my wheel right now on the replay, and I'm cranked over 90 degrees to the left. I mean, to the right. There's not a whole lot I could do with that. But yeah, it wasn't on purpose, and I'm sure he thinks otherwise, but it wasn't on purpose.
And it's just the heat of the moment stuff there. And yeah, you hit the curbs, and I knew you had no control of that car until at least it got grounded. We saw a ton of cars hit that second curb on that right-hander part of the turn, and they just kept bouncing and bouncing and bouncing. So I knew that the grip was low in that portion of the track. So just in all, in our eyes, I think it was just a big racing deal. It just happened to be for the P1 spot there at the very end of the race. You two put on a hell of a race, regardless, for everyone watching. And just appreciate you for allowing us to watch that. That was such an amazing spectacle alone. But final thoughts before we let you go this evening.
Yeah, want to thank Red Duck Comics and 213 Simware, Tony, everybody on the team. Let me come out here and do this. We're locked in next week, so next week is all for fun. And we'll be ready to go get them at Phoenix.
Yep, you don't have to bring real money chips. You can bring the fake ones because it's not worth anything. You're just gonna have some fun with it. So yeah, Monopoly money is dust in the mirror, just said. But either way, man, yeah, congrats. Go have fun next week, and then yeah, we'll catch you next Tuesday.
Yep, thank you.
Yes, sir. That was number 26, Blake Howell. There in his Blake Howell Design Chevrolet Camaro, and what a race, Jason. I know we already talked about it, but man, oh man, like the best race I think I have called in 2023. Period.
I could almost say the same thing for the both of us, Jeremy. Definitely, in my opinion, the best RSR race we've called all season, no doubt about it. And
Sure.
It comes at the Charlotte Roval. Out of all things, we had some great battling. We had a lot of controversy, a lot more than last night. We had some tempers pretty much there at the end of the race. And I mean, you can't blame Blake Howell, and you can't blame Ryan Bean there. I mean, Ryan Bean threw it into the corner at a comfortable pace. He didn't throw it in there in an aggressive way. I mean, it was aggressive, but he didn't see it as overshooting the corner, which I believe him. It wasn't overshooting the corner because he got in there, made it stick, but he just didn't give enough room. Blake was, like he said, he was 90 degrees to the right, and we can testify for him as well. I mean, he was 90 degrees to the right. You can't do much when you're on those turtles. We saw tonight how much you got on those turtles and how much you saw guys go around, or how many guys ran around, rather, due to getting over those turtles. It's a racing deal. I get it. You can't blame Blake. You can't blame Ryan. It is what it is. But, I would expect these two to probably be more than likely two of the best guys competing now from here on out for this championship. I mean, we've obviously seen how strong, Nate Campbell's been tonight. Not his night, but probably just not a road course racer, more than likely in my eyes. Late Vegas next week, maybe he could do something with it. But, I mean, with the tempers between Ryan Bean and Blake Howell, again, all heat of the moment for Ryan. But I'm sure, just like they say with race car drivers, Jeremy, race car drivers never forget. And Ryan did say, and I quote, "I guess there's a reason why it keeps happening." So something to maybe look forward to, or at least look into here as we continue on to the finale for the round of 12 next week in Vegas.
And you touched on the 45, Nathan Campbell. He had that bad night, and he was, I think, only, 8 points above that cut line. With him having a bad finish here this evening, the 45 has a chance of not making the round of 8 if he doesn't have a great race at Las Vegas next week. So he has to do something to kind of secure a good, solid top 10 to lock himself in for the race following. But we're going to bring this thing to a close. Thank our partners one last time. RSR Next Generation Cup Series presented by the ERL Racing League. It is their title series here. And if you want to stay up to date with everything RSR related, head over to the Facebook page at facebook.com/RSR League. Best One Tire and Service. It's your one-stop automotive repair and tire shop. Find the location nearest you by going to bestoneTire.com. Admin Box. It's built by iRacers for iRacers to be utilized in league and hosted races. And you're going to find everything they have to offer you at adminbox.com. Blake Howell Designs, find them on Instagram. It's your one-of-a-kind paint scheme to showcase any partners or sponsors that you want to bring to the racetrack. And once again, that is Blake Howell Designs on Instagram. Martin Sports, top quality apparel to make you look stylish and feel comfortable. See their whole apparel lineup at martinsports.gg. iRacing iFlag. Get all of your notifications a fraction of a second faster, and your sim rig with a really nice 64 LED system, 3D printed, fully customized, ready just for you. And it's going to be at iRacingIFlag.com. Butt Kicker, the ultimate feel from the race car directly into your sim seat to get you performing at your peak performance. You find them at thebuttkicker.com. Team Watson Racing Setups, quality, professionally built setups for all asphalt oval needs. Find them at teamwatsonracing.com. Dusty Pete's Gifts and Collectibles, hobby shop with a whole lot more. If collecting is the game, Dusty Pete's is the name, and you'll find them at dustypete's.com. And lastly, Roasted Gems Coffee, premium coffee beans roasted just for you. Start your day the right way with coffee from Roasted Gems. All right, guys, that's going to be it for this week. We're going to catch you next Monday as we're going to get to the FTSR Mach 1 Performance Cup Series as they're going to try to tackle Las Vegas. So that should be a great race. Please stay tuned, 9 p.m. Eastern, to catch that race. You guys, until then, stay safe. Get your nerd on.